Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Robert Phoenix, and we are now broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg, Texas. What's happening, everyone? Sunday night. Hey, let me adjust my position, my gluteus maximus. Okay, you know, the ritual here. The ritual is kind of hang out for a little bit. The people congregate, find the space, and begin to assemble. There's Isla, there's Jennifer, there's Judy. What's going on? What's happening, everybody? We've got 14 people now watching. We've got a few new subscribers over the past couple of days, which for a YouTube world is not bad. I usually lose subscribers, and generally not of their own volition. A lot of times YouTube will disconnect people, and I'm not the only person who's talked about this on YouTube. It's like, you know, okay, well, I used to subscribe to this channel and I'm not getting alerts anymore. And they go in and they find out that they don't have a subscription anymore. Gee, isn't that a fun way to run a business? It's been going on for a while. And the whole idea of like getting hits and clicks and all that stuff, man, it can be really a serious mind fuck, you know? It can be a really serious mind fuck. Because on the surface, I don't get a lot of hits, or I don't get a lot of views. Although it seems like more people kind of watch what I do than they're actually showing up in terms of the metrics. And you know, I've really had to practice kind of a Zen with it all, a Zen thing, and just get my ego out of the way with it, and continue to do the work as best as I can, because I am a one-man band, and just understand that whatever is happening, whoever is showing up, that's just the way it is. You know, the intention should always be as theoretically as pure as it was when I first started this, which was just to get information out, share, keep my own sanity around and healthy, and have it as a creative exercise, a creative outlet. And as long as I can continue to maintain those standards, I'll be good. And then I know that the people that do show up, you are appreciative, and I appreciate you as well. So that's from me to you out there. So let's see who else is showing up here. There's the lovely Pisces, Joan S. Hello, Joan. Jenny Beasley, Cato. There's Jennifer. How my condolences for Tracy. Oh, thanks, Kate. I brought in at least one new subscriber. Jenny, you brought in a subscriber. Congratulations. I should do like a I don't know, like a loyalty thing. Ring in 20 subscribers and get a free 20-minute session. I don't think anybody's done that before, but I appreciate it. And you know, these are tricky times. These are really tricky times with YouTube and the media, social media, alternative media. I've been watching Nathan Stoltman from Lift the Veil just basically evaporate from YouTube, and now he's just fully committed to Twitch. So I went over to Twitch, and I'm like, it's like it's really odd. I mean, maybe he's ahead of the curve on this thing, but Twitch is really a portal for gamers, and he's got his show over on Twitch, and you know, I went over there, I signed up, and I get his alerts, and maybe he's on some. What's really interesting about Nathan, though, and about this whole process, right, is I never used to do video. I don't know how long you guys have been around, but I didn't really do YouTube videos. I did podcasting, and I would use either Blog Talk Radio or Spreaker, and then I would take my podcasts and I would put them on YouTube, so you really wouldn't see me, but you could hear me. It was a way for me, and it was easy, because once I would do a podcast, right to YouTube, they'd have a little link, and I could put the link on YouTube, or I could post it on YouTube, or I could post it on Twitter. It was very simple, super simple. And Blog Talk did it too, as well as Spreaker. And then I was just noticing, well, nobody's really listening to my stuff. And I remember having a conversation with Heather Eland one day. She says, well, you've got to do video. You have to do video because it's the algorithm. The algorithm, it recognizes video versus just straight sound. I'm like, okay, so I'll start doing video. And hey, let's face it, it's really worked for Heather. She gets tons of hits, and she should. She's really good at what she does. So I tried it, and it's really about the same. It's really about the same views for me doing video as it was for me just doing the voice. And now Nathan, who did incredibly well for the last couple of years, and I first started watching him, he was kind of painful to watch a little bit. You could tell his heart was in the right place. He was trying to find his niche and everything. But he often he took on people, and he got stomped. There were people who in the YouTube space just went after him and beat him down mercilessly. But to his credit, he hung in there, and through his consistency and his persistence, he was able to really craft a nice audience, like a really good audience. And then what happened with Nathan was that he kind of peaked. And I'll tell you when he peaked. He peaked right around the time of Jussie Smollett, because he was killing it. His shows kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he was selling more and more T-shirts, and he was just, I could tell he was just really, going from strength to strength. And then the Smollett stuff come in, and eventually he got demonetized. Like he still had Super Chat. I don't know how he hung on to Super Chat. I don't know how he hung on to that because I'm not allowed to have Super Chat. I'm not allowed. So I didn't have any monetization on my videos for a very long time, because a long time ago, this is around 2009, 2010, I think, I applied for monetization on YouTube through Google, and I screwed up. I screwed up the process. And back then, if you screwed up once, you couldn't do it again. You'd have to start a new channel, and I didn't want to start a new channel. I think somewhere along the line, just like how they changed, like if you forgot your password on Google for a while ago, you were screwed. On Gmail, you were screwed. And then they reconfigured that. Now, they make it easy. Go to your phone or whatever. They didn't used to do that. So for a long time, I couldn't get monetized on YouTube. And then one day, this might have been about, 7, 8 months ago, I saw that there was a monetization option. I'm like, well, shit, I may as well try this, because before I couldn't do it. Human error. So I said, okay, let's see what happens. And I hit it, and within 48 hours, YouTube told me that I did not meet their community guidelines for monetization. And not only that, I could not have Super Chat. That if I wanted to have monetization, I'd have to go read their guidelines and start removing videos that theoretically were against their community guidelines, which probably would have been my whole channel, to be honest with you. Because I think I crossed lines at least 2 to 3 times per show based on YouTube. Anyway, so I don't have it. I didn't have for a long time because of human error. And then when I tried it again, it was like, well, we checked out your videos, buddy. No way. No way, Jose. But they still make money off of people. They still make money off of people. If you can't monetize your video, then theoretically YouTube should not be monetizing on your video either. And there are people who say that I have videos that show up on my video. So somebody's paying to be on my video. I'm not getting any of it. Doesn't bother me, but if one party can't be monetized, then the other party shouldn't be monetized either. But of course, that's not how business works. In that flawed mode. Speaking of business, we're going to get into the show tonight. I'm just waiting for people to show up. I had this experience. I was going to talk about it last week. I never finished. I never got around to it. And sometimes we think that most of the times we think corporations are evil, and small businesses are really the heart and soul of America. And I had an experience 2 weeks ago, which was the complete opposite, I have to say. I had an experience where I was working with Brother, you know, the Brother typing, the Brother typing machine with, you know, typewriters and Brother. They have copiers. I have a Brother copier, and I hadn't used it for a long time, and I needed to get some copies made, so I needed to sync it up with Bluetooth, with my new computer and everything, and it wasn't working. So I actually called Brother customer service. And there was this wonderful woman in of all places, Jamaica, because I like to talk to the customer service people. I like to ask them how their life is, where they are. You know, I want to humanize their experience a little bit. I want to get to know them a little bit. You know, I don't want to just have a bot experience. Anyway, I'd like that with taxi cab drivers too. Anyway, I'm talking to her. She was super cool. She walked me through everything, and I've owned this damn printer now for probably about, God, it's been a long time. I bought this printer when I moved to Point Richmond. So I've had this printer since about 2009. So I had it for 10 years. It still works. And she stepped me through. You know, this is a product I've had for 10 years. I signed up for the Brother account a while ago, so it's not like I was new. Anyway, she helped me out, and I got it running. Boom, great, thank you. Thank you, corporate America Brother, who had the time and the wherewithal and customer service to get it up and running again. Because to be honest with you, I didn't want to go out and buy a new printer. I don't want to wait. I don't want to put more waste on the planet, right? I want to use as much of the stuff as possible for as long as I can. Conversely, I'm working on this truck, and I ordered a part for this truck, and it was with a small business, but privately owned business, not a corporate business, not a corporate remanufacturer or parts warehouse, specifically located in New Jersey. Their warehouse is somewhere in Florida, and these guys fucked up my order royally. They didn't even put the address as to where this part is supposed to go to this mechanic. They didn't put the address on there. They didn't put just put the city, and I had to phone them up, find out what happened, because they weren't going to tell me. They weren't going to let me go that it wasn't delivered. And then I had to go through this process to get it tracked and start a ticket. If I hadn't done that, they wouldn't have done it. And then I go online and I look at their track record, and it's horrible, absolutely horrible. People have written to the Attorney General of New Jersey about how bad this place is. And it's a privately held company. It's not a corporation. It's not a chain. So sometimes, just because a business happens to be private or personally owned doesn't always make it good. And sometimes a corporation isn't always bad. And maybe that's the theme of tonight's show. We'll figure it out. All right, let me check back in with you guys and see where everything is going. We got Ani. What's going on? Ani? Tanya, no notification. This is one funky Eclipse season so far. You bet your booty. That's right. There's Luann. Hey, Luann. There's Jan. Hi, Jan. Anna. Hi, Anna. There's Alexis. The purple one is back. Right on. Purple one shows up on Sunday night. And then the remarkable FUP77, Shasta Fog. Enjoyed reality check show today. You were very interesting. Oh, you guys saw that? Oh, how about that? Great show today. Oh, I'm glad you liked it. I had a good experience yesterday with my internet call pool too, but unusual, so nice. Didn't get a notice. Word. Hey, what's going on, Macadao? Oh yeah, that shows up, huh? Reality check with Jay and I gotta put that up. That's right. Yeah, Valerie was telling me that it was going to be up today, so that's cool, man. It's good. Yeah, I really like. Look, I know Jay's been taken through the mud a bit, and I've always liked Jay. When all that stuff with Corey and David and Jay was going down at Gaia, I didn't know the full story on Jay's side. And Regina and I would talk about stuff every now and then, but Regina, I got it. Hand it to Regina. She is a perfect Scorpio and really good at separating church and state. She's fantastic at it, which is why I think Regina has been able to work at Gaia for so long. And so if Regina and I talked about things, we always would keep it high level and it would never really enter into the realm of gossip. And if there's anything you need to know about Regina that will reinforce her character, I'm sharing something with you right now, because that's what she's always been like with me. We would talk, we would share things very discreetly, but always at a high level and never really in the realm of gossip. So she and I never really talked about Jay, what was going on with Jay at Gaia during that time. We did talk about Corey, and we did talk about David, and let's just say she wasn't philosophically on board with the programming. Okay, just wasn't. And so she was always doing her own thing, right? Regina always doing her own thing. Whether you like her thing or not. Because most people like Regina. Some people like some of what she does, and some people don't like what she does. But I would say the majority of people really, really like Regina, because she's got character, she's got integrity, and she's a professional. And Regina and I don't always agree on everything. We don't always agree on everything, but we agree on more things than not. And usually when we get together, we have great chemistry. And I've seen it in our charts, and it's there, so it works. And I'm grateful to continue to work with her. And I was really happy to get reconnected with Jay, and watching him go through his process with this has also been interesting. And some people will say, well, he hasn't done enough. He hasn't done enough. He needs to, confess more. I don't know if he can do that right now. I just don't, for a number of reasons. Number one, I'm not sure if all the legal stuff with David and Corey has been dealt with and settled with Gaia. I don't know anything about that, but I do know that there was some of that going on. And I think that people in that world who were in them have to be very careful about what they share at this point. That's number one. And number two, I think as individuals, sometimes being really, really vulnerable, really open, which is what we theoretically reward on the internet, can be a real landmine. And sometimes if you reveal too much, people lose respect for you. Sometimes if you don't reveal enough, people lose respect for you. And if you've never been on this side of the screen, and I really don't have that many people that watch or follow what I do, so it's not like I'm Jay or somebody like. But if you've been on this side of the screen and you have to go through something like that, it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to have to talk to people in a way where you're naked. This is a whole new medium, and well, at least in this timeline, it is, right? So I give Jay credit for at least coming forward and starting to address this and bring it up and bring it out. Because as I've said before, I think the world and the internet is better when Jay Whitener's involved. Whether you like Jay or not, whether you have issues with, I think it's better. He's smart, and he's got his finger on the pulse of a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of backstory, and I'm just glad he's back. And I haven't seen the whole show. I think they edited some of it. I don't know what they do with it, but I enjoyed being on it, and I guess I'll put it up on my channel later tonight. Okay, what else do we have here? What else we have? Hey, everybody didn't get a notice. Okay, there you go. You've given Jay credibility in my eyes. Oh, Epstein, so we get love Regina. Regina is how I found you. Jury's still out for me on Grove Bean. So you probably used to watch Conscious Media Network. Okay, what else we have here? Yeah, Yvonne is somebody. It's Yvonne, not Valerie. Yvonne, my bad. Yvonne Palermo, aka Groovy. She's new to me. I know she came out of the Corey world and started to, she was in there, and then she got out, and then she became kind of a whistleblower, I guess. And then, according to her, she was being gang stalked by these people. So she's got kind of this history of, I guess, with them. I don't know very much about her. It was my first time interacting with her. So, and what's interesting is that she wasn't really a part of the mix in that show. And I didn't mean to cut her out or anything. It's just that I've known Jay for such a long time. And, we were able to kind of reconnect. And like Jay Widener's show, when I did it, I discovered Jay with the Stanley Kubrick stuff. And he was just starting to kind of break then. And so I started connecting with Jay. And we did a show on Kubrick. It was one of my first blog talk shows. And the numbers went through the roof. And that's how we started our relationship. And we did subsequent shows and stuff like that. So again, there's the history. And anyway, that's why we were kind of connecting, and maybe she felt a little outside of it. But I think she contributed some stuff there too. Okay, so let's get on. Let's get on. Let's get it on with some astrology. A lot's happened over the last week. We just had another earthquake, 4.6, again in the Ridgecrest area. Boy, oh boy. If you're in California, you're kind of on pins and needles a little bit. Although everybody I talked to in California they've all declared that it was a roller and not a rocker. And if you've ever lived in California, you know the difference. The rockers are like explosions, and things go like this, real fast, right? And rollers, they go like this, right? You kind of feel the wave a little bit. And the rollers are kind of easier to deal with, even though they're unsettling. Rockers will freak the shit out of you. Like I said, I used to live on the Hayward Fault Line, and we would right through our place, man. Right through our place. This is in the Berkeley Hills. Probably about 5 to 6 times a year, we'd experience an earthquake. And sometimes it would be freaky. And you could just feel like the frame of the house, just contort and twist. Like, whoa, what was that? But they had another earthquake. I think it was a 4.6. Look, they're not out of the woods. I don't think California is out of the woods on the earthquake side of things, but it all sort of, let's go back in time. Let's go back to that last eclipse. Everything gets triggered, or so it seems, with that last eclipse. And we're going to talk about the eclipse, and I have a chart for that eclipse. We're going to look at it. And I didn't really have a problem with that last eclipse. I kind of liked it. Some eclipses I just roll with, and they're cool. And other eclipses, like, they can be kind of heavy. So we started off on that last eclipse, July 2nd, right? July 2nd. And then that was right after that, we had the first earthquake. Then we had the second earthquake right after that, right? We had 2 earthquakes. We had Jeffrey Epstein get busted. We had the death of Tracy Twyman. There's been some other deaths that I thought have been quite unusual, actually. Ross Perot died. And not a lot of people have been talking about that. Not that there's anything controversial about his death, but Ross Perot died. And it kind of went under the radar a little bit. It's like, wow, really? Ross Perot. Another guy that died was, there was just before the World Series, not the World Series, the All-Star game, Tyler Skaggs, pitcher for the California Angels, which I did cover, We talked about that around the eclipse. We did talk about that. He was a Cancer, right? I think what sign was Ross Perot? I think Ross Perot was a Cancer. Let me just check here. Hold on. What was Ross's sign? It's Perot. Let me just think. June 27th. Yep, that's right. He was a Cancer. So Ross Perot, Cancer. Tyler Skaggs. Tyler Skaggs was a Cancer. And you know who else died? Was Dog the Bounty Hunter. Dog the Bounty Hunter died. And what was his sign? Do we even have a birth date on him? Let me see. Let me see what we got here. Dog the Bounty Hunter. 1 second. For the person, Dwayne Chapman. Let's get over there. Okay, I thought he was an Aquarian, and he is an Aquarian. That's right. Dog was that's what I thought. I remember looking at this chart before. So Ross Perot, Dog the Bounty Hunter, and then Jim Bouton also died. And Jim Bouton wrote a book called Ball 4, which I read when I was, I believe, 10 years old. And Jim, oh, look at that. Jim was a Pisces, born March 8th. That's my son's birthday. How about that? So he was a very interesting guy, and he wrote Ball 4. When did Ball 4 come out? Let me figure this out here real quick. He came up with the Yankees and kicked around the majors, played with the Astros. He played with the Braves. He played with the Seattle Mariners. And Ball 4 was the first tell-all Major League Baseball book. And Ball 4 came out in 1970. And I read that book when I was 10 years old. There's a mixed blessing reading that book at 10 years old, because it's an adult book on baseball, and there's a lot of profanity, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I didn't understand, that I had to kind of ask my father about. But Jim Bouton passed away. He's also the guy who invented Big League Chew, Big League Bubblegum, and Pisces. So just in this past week, we had Jim Bouton, Ross Perot, Dog the Bounty Hunter, Tracy Twyman, and this guy Justin Raimundo, who is he was a blogger. He was kind of this, gay libertarian, pot smoking, Humboldt County anti-war blogger. He wrote for the website Anti-War. He passed. So a lot of people that passed this last week. And the thing about all of them, in some ways, is that they were all like really very American, and this is a Cancerian theme, right? I mean, think about it just for a second. Let's just go down the list. You've got Ross Perot, the outsider, the guy who came in from the outside. And Ross Perot nearly won the election. He was really, in a lot of ways, the first successful populist since Barry Goldwater, who kind of came in through that third-party portal and really took Americans by storm because he was really honest. And I remember how successful he was. It was that time when it was, I think, Bob Dole, Snoozy Bob Dole, and who else was there? It was, I think it was Clinton, right? It was Clinton, Bob Dole, Ross Perot. And Ross Perot said, that sucking sound you're hearing is your job's going to Mexico. He was talking about NAFTA. And Ross Perot was hitting all those chords. He was just hitting all those chords. Then all of a sudden, Ross Perot got very silent. And the media started to pay less and less attention to him. Ross Perot got the message. And I watched it. And I said, this guy's done. He's done. And it was like kind of early on. I could see the change. He's done. I remember walking into his headquarters, his campaign headquarters in San Francisco. And I think I'd been drinking that. I think I'd had a few drinks. And I walked in and I said, this election's over. He's done. He's done. It's over. He's thrown in the towel. I can tell. And people that were not happy with me. But it was true, because after that, it was just like kind of the fire and that chirpy, chippy kind of, go ahead, I dare you to knock it off my shoulder kind of mentality. That was gone. No more facts. He just kind of faded into the distance. And that was going to be Clinton's election to win easily, hands down. No problema. Let me see, that was 90. What was that? That was 96. Was it 96? 96. Before that was 92. Might have been 92. It might have been Bush against Clinton. No, because it was already NAFTA. NAFTA had already happened. So it was 96. There we go. Anyway, so Ross Perot, very, very American. What about Dog the Bounty Hunter? That guy's about, in a weird way, it's about as American as it gets. Had a super mullet, chasing down these reprobates, people skipping their bail, and and he had his crew, and he was about as salty and gritty and white doggy colliery, as it got, right? Dog the Bounty Hunter. And of course he made some off-color remarks and he was gone. But that guy was kind of one of the first reality TV stars in a lot of ways. I never really liked the show, to be honest with you. Sometimes I always was hoping that the guys he was going after would get away. That was my mindset then. But I saw the popularity in it, and it was like group board, and he had a team. It was a very Aquarian thing. Bringing this back to astrology, he had a team. He had the gal with the big hair, the big boobs, short gal, big hair, big boobs, and he had his team around. It was very Aquarian. Ross Perot, being a Cancer, was talking about America a lot. And so from an astrological standpoint, these guys really kind of embodied their signs. And of course, Jim Bouton was a baseball player, about as American as you can get. And then he, comes out and writes kind of the first tell-all sports book. He basically shared what was going on in locker rooms that, never really got shared before. And a lot of players were really pissed off at him. Really. But then he wrote another book. He wrote another book and another tell-all. I guess they didn't learn the first time. Anyway, he's gone. And that brings us to Tracy Twyman, who I wanted to, again, talk a little bit about. And Tracy, as everybody knows, passed away this last week. And again, very, very, very dark stuff on so many levels, very dark. And it's sending this ripple effect through sort of the truth and the alternative research community. It's very intense, and details are very scant. Now, I was on a website today, and there was a message board, and they were talking about the cause of death, and I can't really get into it because it's not really public knowledge in some ways. But if you want to go and track it down, go to GLP, which is Godlike Productions. Go to the website, go through the message boards, scroll through, and you'll find the information. Okay, but I don't really want to talk about it or speculate too much. But I will say this: I will say Anthony Bourdain. Okay, Anthony Bourdain, and I will say Kate Spade. All right, so that's all I'm saying, and that's code, and you know what I'm talking about. But very, very dark, extremely dark. Some people have asked me to look at Tracy's chart, and the guys who are worked with her in Discord, they actually sent me some info, and I don't want to do her chart yet. I want to let the dust settle. Tracy was not a huge fan of astrology, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. And the astrology she was into was sidereal, and I don't have a problem with that either. But I don't want to do a chart on her yet. I want to let the dust settle, and I will do a chart at some point. I just don't think it's right and fair right now. I listened to Clyde Lewis yesterday, and it was a rebroadcast of his show, the first one he did after Tracy passed away, and he was really torn up, really, really torn up. And Clyde's a Pisces; he's super sensitive, and I thought Clyde did a really, really, good job, treading that line between being heartfelt, losing it, and being professional. And he was very close to her. There was stuff with him, like, I didn't know this, but he married Tracy both times to her, first husband and second husband. That's how close Clyde was to Tracy. And I knew they were close, and I knew that that she was a producer on a show, but I had no idea that they were that close. So her death also sent a ripple through, our experience. And Tracy, in a lot of ways, is very American too, in her own way. She was a Virgo, by the way. That much I know about Tracy. I haven't looked at her full chart, but she's a Virgo. And you can hear that, you can see that Virgoan intelligence in Tracy's work and how sharp she was. And in a lot of ways, how methodical she was. Now, I've also heard that she was, using the Ouija board to contact spirits, and I've never been a big fan of that. That's not my thing. I'm just not. And if indeed that was the case, I hope she used an incredible amount of discernment while she did that. I think it was Jacqueline Dollard who left a comment on my show from Friday, who said that she had told Freeman on a show she did with him, I think last year, that she was using the Ouija board to summon spirits like Baphomet and Cain and stuff like that. And if that's true, then, I really, 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 really hope that Tracy was, using as much of a holy prophylactic as possible, because that's a very, very, very dark portal. But I think Tracy is very American to the extent that, number one, she was trying to get to the bottom of something. And we know what she was trying to get to the bottom of. She was trying to get to the bottom of a lot of the pedophilia stuff. And, you know, a lot of people, and I do believe it is true, that one of the reasons why she was so deeply invested was because she had a child and wanted to protect her child and perhaps other children, in which case that's very Cancerian as well, as we've noted with the sign of Cancer. And she also, Tracy also reminds me slightly, she reminds me a little bit of Jack Parsons in some ways. And because Tracy has had a deeply connected relationship with the occult and occult knowledge for a very long time, extremely long time. In fact, even set up her own order. Look at Jasper. What do you see, Jasper? What do you see? You see something? Jasper is very attuned. She set up her own order, right? Just like Jack Parsons set up his own order. You know, Jack and L. Ron Hubbard. Jack Parsons was a refugee from the OTO. He started his own order, and L. Ron Hubbard was one of the founding members, right? And so Tracy has kind of that in common with Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons is a very American story. He was a genius. He was a rocket genius with an interest and a passion for esoterica and occultism, and unfortunately having sex with his mother, which doesn't seem very American to me. But anyway, so the people that we lost over this, even Justin Raimundo, you know, he was a libertarian. He was a pot-smoking, anti-war libertarian. You know, they were all very American in some ways, all very American. And this is part of the eclipse energy. You know, we had the sun in Cancer was eclipsed, right? The sun was eclipsed in Cancer. And we know all about Cancer. We know what it represents, right? And so things would be revealed. And that's what happens when there's an eclipse. There's a revelation that occurs. There's a revelation that occurs with eclipses. Things are shown in a different kind of way. And now we're about to go into another eclipse, with the lunar eclipse. This time it's going to be in Capricorn, which we're going to look at. Okay, we're going to look at it. Now, we had a bunch of people that passed. We had the 2 earthquakes. We also had a submarine, a Russian submarine, which did not sink, but it was disabled, and they had a fire on that submarine, and apparently 14 Russians died. Now, it's a very unusual story, very, very unusual story, and that supposedly, this is what I've heard, supposedly this was a cable cutter sub. Now, this is what I've heard from one side. I've also heard from the other side, which is the Russian side, that submarine was on some kind of a mission. And whatever they did, theoretically saved humanity. Now, it was from, I think, it was a commanding officer that was assigned to the equivalent of a Russian admiral. So this was somebody who was fairly high up, but it was like his direct senior was like this Russian admiral who was very, very high up. And this guy said they risked their lives. I don't know what that means, but he said this, okay? And then shortly thereafter, we've got this event that happens in Ridgecrest at the naval station, the China Lake Naval Station. And I don't believe that was a naturally occurring earthquake. I think it was triggered. And one of two things either happened. Either there was an explosion inside the nuclear reactor, which is there and it's underground, or the Russians did some kind of retaliation. I don't know. But the connection in terms of linear time between the Russian sub and then this thing that happened at the China Lake Naval Station is very connected, very synchronistic, okay? Very synchronistic, like in that time. So then we have the two quakes, and then to top everything else, we have the Epstein arrest. And the Epstein arrest took place last Saturday night. It's a big deal, really big deal. An earthquake in and of itself. And even Tracy's passing was an earthquake. I mean, that sent shockwaves through the alternative media world, just shockwaves. And the Epstein thing has sent shockwaves. You know what's really interesting about the Epstein thing? Is now all of a sudden mainstream media is fucking finally paying attention. Stuff that we've been talking about for 3 years. 3 years, if not more. We've been looking at Epstein, Pato Island, pictures of the temple, the flight manifest, his black book. We've known about this for at least 3 years, if not more. And we've been talking about it. Now, all of a sudden, I was looking at the San Francisco Chronicle on their website. The mysterious island connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Like, really? Really? Where have you people been? We are light speed. I mean, we are light speed ahead of mainstream media. And it's not even close. It's not even close. Like, we landed on this thing 4 to 5 years ago, easily. And now they're just, we got here in a light ship. And they're getting here in, a little dinghy with a 10 horsepower Evinrude outboard motor. Okay, that they're finally getting here. Hello, it's like about time. But again, it sent shockwaves. Now everybody's scrambling around trying to figure out what's going to happen. Where's it going to go? What does this mean? Who's going to go down? Well, I'll tell you one thing. I saw Trump the other day. He was talking to the media in typical Trumpian fashion about censorship. It was that summit at the White House. That guy acted like he did not have a care in the world. Not a care in the world. So if, any frog's hide was boiling in the pot, Trump was not it. I can tell you that right now. Based on what that guy and how he comported himself, he was cool as a cucumber. They could be aligning. Clearly, they could be aligning against him. They could be putting the squeeze on him. But that dude doesn't sweat. I mean, if you think about this. Maybe he's got I think he's got doubles. I think they all have doubles. But how many times have we seen that guy in a public setting after all the shit he's taken, after all the shit that people like Rosie O'Donnell and Kathy Griffin and all these people and De Niro and all these people have just dumped on him and dumped on his kid, and dumped on Melania, dumped on everybody, dumped on his daughter. I mean, he can, brandish a mean tweet, but he can cut loose in public. But I've never seen him lose his shit. Never. He may lose his shit behind closed doors, but I've never seen that guy lose his shit. Doesn't seem to sweat. And just think about it. He's doing something every day. Well, besides golfing, he's doing something every day. Every day. He's here. He's there. Tweeting this. Does the guy even fucking sleep? I don't think he does. I've heard he doesn't. I've heard he sleeps about 4 to 5 hours, if that. He takes a nap during the day, and he's like doing his thing. It's the most fascinating presidency I've ever seen, and not always pretty to watch. Sometimes it's really cringeworthy. Other times it's like, this guy's a fucking genius, and other times it's like, this guy, he's lost the plot. I mean, it's so fascinating to watch, and that's the Gemini-Uranus conjunction in Trump's chart. You sit there and watch and go, is he playing 5D chess, or is he just really a fool? And he goes on and on. It hasn't stopped. It has not stopped. The Sun-Uranus conjunction is always going to keep us guessing, and we're right in the world of guesswork again with Epstein. Totally in the realm of guesswork with Epstein. And tomorrow he's going to be arraigned. And they're going to, I don't think he's going to be able to get bail. I think that guy's a flight risk. I think he's a total. Tomorrow's going to be really interesting. We're going to see how powerful Jeffrey Epstein's friends are. And they are powerful, let me tell you. He's got friends in very high places. Everybody knows the stuff about Les Wexner. We've talked about it's out there, like Les Wexner is the man behind the man. And he's part of a group called the Mega Group. And it's a hedge fund where you got to be a billionaire to get into the Mega Group. All right. So these guys are like, they're like the Justice League. Maybe not the Justice League. What would be the equivalent of the the League of Anti-Heroes or whatever? They're super villains with a shitload of money that come together and they put their money together and they move markets and they push things around. That's what Lex Wexner, Lex Luthor, Luke's Lesnar does. That's what he does. He and his group put huge amounts of money into markets and move them. That's what a hedge fund does. He's got one of the biggest. It's the mega group. He's the man behind Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, the man behind the man. There have already been two anonymous sources that have filed that the records remain sealed in the Epstein case. Oh, really? Two anonymous entities have filed that the records remain sealed. So now all of a sudden, up here on the surface, there's a little bit of a tug of war going on for the Epstein narrative. Well, we know that's already the case. You know, the left has got their spears sharpened and pointed right at Donald Trump, and Donald Trump, as far as Friday went, guy doesn't care in the world. He doesn't care. That guy was just cool as the other side of the pillow. But I'm not saying that as some endorsement of Trump. That was just an observation. You know, and watch this guy go, wow, it's really interesting. He's here and he's talking about that censorship, and he brought on this young congressman. I think it's the guy from Missouri or whatever. He's like, you know, it's really bright light, and he's talking there. I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. And the next thing I know, he's singing the praises of Scooter Libby, Lewis Libby, one of the guys that was part of the con job known as the Iraq War. Okay, he's singing his praises. Oh, he's a great guy. I pardoned him. He's going on and on about Scooter Libby. You should look at Scooter Libby's novel. He wrote a novel, and it is fucking perverted. It is totally perverted. It's got bestiality in it. It's got underage sex. It is like kind of a hidden in plain sight thing. And he was actually the one neocon. It almost seems like there's got to be one person who goes down, right, in a particular thing. So for finance, it would have been theoretically Bernie Madoff, right? He becomes the scapegoat to go down. In film, it's Harvey Weinstein. And now it's Jeffrey Epstein. So there always seems to be at least one guy that kind of goes down on these things. In the government, it was Lewis Libby during that administration. And so Trump pardons him. Oh, he's a great guy. He pointed out Lynn Cheney. Hi, Lynn. There's Lynn Cheney. I mean, you know, these are characters. Like Lynn Cheney is married to a guy that is diabolical. Okay, he's diabolical. Dick Cheney's diabolical. He's a diabolical dude. And, so I have to ask myself, you know, what is Trump doing? Does he really believe this shit? Or is he playing a game? Now, I've been thinking about this for a long time. And if I wanted to really change the world, okay, if I really wanted to, you cannot do it by being earnest unless you are so earnest and so honest and so connected in that the flame of truth just burns through everybody and everything like a freaking laser beam, right? And that's very hard to do, and very few people can do that, by the way. Very few people can do it. But it's a way, it's a light unto the world and a path. However, another way is to basically fool people. And Trump is kind of a fool. With the Sun in Gemini and the Uranus conjunction, he can play the fool. Uranus, Aquarius, remember I've said this, Aquarius is the sign that represents the fool. And all of you people who are Aquarians out there, I am not calling you foolish. Please don't take it the wrong way. Aquarius does not play by the rules. They play outside the sandbox. They color outside the lines, and they're not afraid to look foolish as a result of it, okay? In many cases, Aquarians can break new ground, and sometimes they appear to be foolish when they do it. That's the nature of Aquarius. Anybody that takes risks and does something new can look like a fool. Aquarius is the opposite sign of Leo. Leo is royalty, the king and the queen. Aquarius, the 0 card in the major arcana, the ruler of that card is Uranus, okay? It's Uranus. It's everything and nothing. Bada bing, right? If you look at cards, it is the 22nd card in the deck. It's after the world, we start over, right? 0, boom. Okay, let's see. Owen Benjamin is a new video. Does that guy sleep either? He's another Gemini. That guy doesn't sleep either. All he does is make videos. He makes videos for 3. He's supposed to have a farm. He's supposed to have a farm. How does he get all that work? He must rise at the crack of dawn and then get all his work in, and then makes his 3 or 4 hour videos. I actually like Owen. I'm just giving a little bit of shit. That's all. So yeah. So if you were gonna like change the world, theoretically, would you want to like pretend or look like a fool? Isn't that kind of what that movie Being There is about? With Peter Sellers, Chauncey the gardener. He's a fool, and he's a fool because he's so innocent, and that's what the fool represents. It represents innocence, and everybody takes him so seriously. But he'll say something, write it all down. But if you wanted to change, you wouldn't show them that you're coming. You would not. You would not be all presidential and really filled with gravitas. No, you would basically keep people off balance if that's what you really wanted to do. So I'm thinking about this, like, well, maybe this is really what Trump is doing, and it's part of this strategy. And I think it is sometimes. And I think other times, I'm not sure. Sometimes I think they're making it up as they go along. That's what I think. Or he goes along. That's what I think. Let me get into. Let me do this. Let me get into the Epstein chart. Let's just jump right into Epstein. Let's see if I got his chart up here. Give me one sec. Okay. Hurricane Barry has not swelled up into a natural disaster just yet. We'll see. We'll continue to track that tomorrow. We are getting some rain here in the hill country. Okay, let me share this. This is the Epstein chart. Now, look, I don't know the time of his birth, so I'm kind of rectifying this thing in my head a little bit here. Okay, and let me give you the method to my madness. First of all, I have Aries on the ascendant. And the reason why I have Aries on the ascendant is because of here and here, right? This is the 5th house. And the 5th house represents children. And he's got the south node there, and he's got Pluto in the 5th house. And I thought, okay, well, this kind of makes sense. Leo, 5th house, children. Let's go over here. We have the part of fortune in the 3rd house at 6 Cancer. Now, the 3rd house represents teaching and education. And where did Epstein get his first gig? It was at the Dalton Academy in Manhattan teaching. And the part of fortune is something that you fall into. Did not graduate from college, and he's got part of fortune. I thought, okay, that makes some sense. Jupiter in Taurus in the 1st house, that is the ostentatious sign of wealth. Jupiter in the 1st house. And he strikes me a bit of being Taurian. He's got a big head. Have you ever noticed Jeffrey Epstein's head? I mean, it's like 2 of Trump's heads. It goes like this. The guy's got a fucking enormous noggin. Right? Check out his head sometime. It's like you could fit 2 Trumps in one of Epstein. So I've got Aries here where the head is prominent. But he's got a hairline like a Taurus rising. Now, again, I'm just speculating here. This is the time that I came up with. Somebody might find his birth time and come up with a completely different chart. This is the way astrology works. I'm just looking at this and putting my own kind of vision sense into it, right? But the wealth, it's the wealth with Jupiter in the 1st house. Oh, he's a billionaire. Oh, he's so wealthy. Wealthy, 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 wealthy. And then I've got him as, well, this is his birthday, 0 Aquarius. And then he's got Mercury in Capricorn and then Chiron. And I've got a Capricorn midheaven and working with very Capricornian forces and sources. And the South Node now going through his 10th house, and Saturn right there retrograding, moving back onto his Chiron and making him vulnerable to the world. So whether or not this is actually around his birth time, we know for a fact that Saturn is on his Chiron. And for the first time in 30 years, Jeffrey Epstein is feeling vulnerable. I can tell you that right now, feeling vulnerable. Now, if we look over here, we've got Pluto transiting. There's the South Node. South Node is going to start to hit his Chiron very quickly. Now, South Node is on 17 Capricorn, and that means the true node is on 17 Cancer. It's there for almost like 2 months. This is drilling down on these degrees, right? But the South Node is going to hit his Chiron. That's going to be interesting, to say the least. Will the South Node on Jeffrey Epstein's Chiron be the end of the Jeffrey Epstein story? Quite possibly. Just we'll have to, keep an eye on that. But what I'm more interested in some ways, is the Pluto square to Libra, or Neptune in Libra. That is definitely happening. That is definitely on. Pluto's on his Mercury, and Mercury is communication. And this is intense. And I mean intense pressure with Pluto on his Mercury. Pluto's at 21, his Mercury's at 21. Pluto's currently at 2154, and it's going to go retrograde. So Pluto is going to move into exact conjunction with his Mercury. So I have to ask the question, is Jeffrey Epstein going to live? Is he going to live through this? Well, I'll tell you what. If he manages to live through this time, by 2024 with Pluto conjunct his sun, I'm not sure that's the case. I think the clock could be ticking on Jeffrey Epstein right here. Tick, 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 tick. Unless, of course, it represents a metaphorical death. He converts to Christianity and joins the Catholic Church. Wouldn't that be something? Strangely fitting in a weird way. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just being darkly ironic. But the Pluto square to Neptune. Now, Pluto's retrograding. It's going to come back again and square off against Neptune one more time. And that'll be next year. So he's going to have the Pluto-Neptune square, and Pluto's ultimately going to square his Saturn. Saturn's going to come back next year. It's going to be around March. He's going to have a Pluto-Saturn square, a Saturn-Neptune square. I don't know if this guy's going to make it through that. I don't see it. I just don't see, I don't see it. I really don't see it. Not here. Not with these guys. Not even with Saturn on his Chiron. He's vulnerable. This guy, for the first time in 30 years, he may be saying, oh, I'm going to be fine. I'll be fine. He should not be so sure. Let's look at some of the individual elements here of the chart. Again, we pointed out Pluto in the 5th house, children. Pluto rules sex. It rules death. It rules the underworld. I think it's a fairly fitting placement in the 5th house. Now, he did have a longtime courtesan, Ghislaine Maxwell, correct? And here we have Saturn. Again, this is my timing placement. Saturn in the 7th house, which represents relationship. And the 7th house here is Scorpio, which is the underworld. And quite honestly, his relationships would be what? Very underworld-like. Very, sort of deep, dark, behind the scenes. And the Neptune-Saturn conjunction is that, number one, he is not what he seems. And in this position, nor would his partners be what they seem. And in fact, in general, Saturn, as it represents people in his life that are connected to fathers, power structures, power brokers, they are not what they seem either. This is the mystery of Jeffrey Epstein. Right here, the Neptune-Saturn conjunction, squaring off against all of that Capricorn energy, and even the Aquarian energy with the Saturn-Sun square. And I also think that he's probably got enough information on a number of people. Apparently there's some kind of steel vault or something down on the island that has all, all the tapes, or the tapes that are copies of probably what Alan Dershowitz has. So at the end, though, this may actually be his undoing. It may be his undoing. And he is, with a Neptune-Mercury square, he's another prevaricator. People have Neptune-Mercury squares, they lie. They lie. And if you have a Neptune-Mercury square in your life, be honest with yourself. Be honest. Because you may not lie to other people, but you may lie to yourself. You may lie to yourself. And it may be something benign. It may be like, maybe you come from means. Maybe you come from means, but you carry around this idea that you're impoverished. That would be a lie, right? That would be lying to yourself. Or let's say you were very accomplished at something, and you would always run yourself down because you didn't want people to find out that you're accomplished, or for whatever's behind that story. That would be a lie you would tell yourself. Or it could be even more grandiose lies. You may see yourself as being somebody much more important than who you are with a Mercury-Neptune square, right? So Neptune tends to distort. With the square to Mercury, it distorts how we think, how we communicate, and how we share what's between our ears. And Neptune is a distortion. Donald Trump has this. He has it. And for Trump, I think it's manifested in his, the power of positive thinking. Everything's awesome or great or fantastic, really fantastic. This is a really fantastic job, really awesome. He's learned how to do that. He's learned how to do that. And sometimes Trump just flat out doesn't tell the truth. And that's the case. It's happened. It has happened. It has happened. Right? Or sometimes he stretches the truth. But people in power think these people, they're not paragons of virtue. They're not. They're playing a very deadly game at a very high level with, for all intents and purposes, are what are crime bosses from other syndicates. That's what happens when you get up there. You don't get up there unless you've got connections, or you've got some wherewithal, or you've got some friends in high places, brothers in lodges, or whatever. And for whatever reason, Trump is there. But he's got that same square. The Saturn square to Mercury, which is very interesting because it usually represents, in a lot of ways, kind of a learning disability, to be honest with you. I mean, I've seen this before. People can have a very difficult time with certain, so Mercury Saturn squares can be good for some very focused forms of learning, elucidating, communicating, and others can be very, very difficult for them. Like I have a Mercury Saturn square in my chart. And when I was a kid, I learned how to read in about 2 days. I was reading in 2 days, right? The teacher was shocked at how fast I learned. And, we started off with the big red book, the little red book, little green book. Everybody was kind of on the little red book. And I was like on, the little blue book or the little yellow book. I was way, way, way out in front. But I sucked at math. So math to me was very, very difficult. But I was a savant when it came to reading and ideas. In a lot of ways, we can see this sometimes with the Mercury Saturn square. There could be one thing that's perfected really well, and there could be other things that are much more difficult. So perhaps Epstein might have been along those lines, and maybe he had a gift, or as a gift for numbers, physics, geometry, maybe in other parts of his life, maybe not so gifted. That could be a part of this. Now, what really grabbed me about his chart, besides this, right? Because this to me, it represents some serious character flaws right here, right there. Neptune, Saturn conjunction, and then squaring off against all those planets. But it was this Venus, Mars conjunction in Pisces that really grabbed my attention. And one of the things that is characteristic of somebody with a Venus, Mars conjunction is that they have charisma. They have a lot of charisma. And if you look at Epstein, he's got kind of a charismatic vibe. I mean, he kind of looks cool, right? Nothing ever looks out of place with that guy. Nothing. Nothing. And I'm sure that with the Venus-Mars conjunction, especially when we've got that Mercury coming in and sextiling Venus and Mars, and then Uranus coming in, you know, with the trine to Venus and Mars, I bet you this guy oozed charisma. I bet he just absolutely oozed charisma and got people to do things in ways that they probably were not ready, willing, and able to do. I think this is probably the dark gift of Jeffrey Epstein's chart, is the Venus-Mars conjunction, especially in the sign of Pisces. To me, this is almost cult-like in some ways. You know, this is charismatic and cult-like, and especially with the trine to Uranus. This is unusual expression of sexuality, and it could probably be bisexual with the Venus-Mars conjunction, although that's not often talked about with Epstein. It's more about young girls, right? But I'm telling you, this is his tabula rasa. This is where Jeffrey Epstein, I believe, got his astrological gifts from in terms of his expression. This and this, Jupiter in Taurus. And Jupiter here is in a wide trine with Chiron, which is kind of interesting, right? Because we're dealing with vulnerability. We're dealing with vulnerability of what? Capricornian people, individuals of power. And what's your Jupiter doing? Profiting off of it, trining right up there. Oh yeah, we're going to make money off vulnerability. Hello. He's unusual though, and even perverse. Moon in Aries, it's a hot moon, right? People have moon in Aries, but the raw moon in Aries promotes desire. But his moon is in square with Chiron, and it's in square with Uranus. And behind all of it, right? This again, my estimation time-wise, behind it all is perversion. Moon square Uranus, moon square Chiron. Now, usually moon is going to square Chiron if it's in a square with Uranus, because Uranus and Chiron are almost always in opposition with one another. That's the way it works, right? So you're going to get both. But for some people, maybe this could represent some kind of a radical healing. But I would think that maybe at different signs, you know, like say you have Uranus in Leo, okay, and maybe you have the moon squaring off against it in Taurus, right? That could be theoretically maybe healing. Or how about Scorpio? You'd have to go through some dark stuff to get to the healing path with Scorpio. But this is all fire, right? This is fire. And it's squaring off against Uranus in Cancer, which is traditional values, right? Traditional values. So he's got this radical square going on here. And it's right here as well with Neptune. So kind of wide. It's 12 degrees. It's more in square with more Neptune than Pisces, or Saturn rather. But yeah, this to me, this is kinky and perverted. Moon in Aries square Uranus. And in Aries, which is a sign that represents what? Blood and fury. And then the 12th house, hidden, dark, behind the scenes. Who knows what went on in, you know, those places, those deep, dark 12th house places behind closed doors. So by and large, what has he got coming? Well, he's got to pay the piper on some level with Saturn coming in a Chiron. We've seen that already. Jupiter's in Sagittarius. Right now we got the moon in Sagittarius tonight. Jupiter's in Sagittarius. And is it doing anything out of the ordinary? Yes. It's going to come back and square Venus and square Mars. And that's retrograde. And Jupiter in Sagittarius is justice. So that is retrograde. He's going to have to answer for something. And look at this, Neptune, which is at 17 degrees, am I right? 18 degrees. And that's going to be retrograding, going back onto his, so Neptune is retrograding, going back onto his Venus. Loose lips sink ships, Neptune on Venus. It's going to get very interesting here with this guy and his chart. I'm telling you, we may not see it all on the surface, but behind the scenes in the 12th house, the water is starting to boil. Uranus is it's in Taurus, and it's going to be a while before it hits. He's got Uranus squaring off against the sun. Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Uranus Sun square. It's almost like a sudden reversal. You know, we saw the sudden reversal with that Mercury retrograde in Leo. And it was like, okay, guess what, buddy? You're arrested again. But I don't know. I don't think whether or not he's actually taken out from people that don't want him to spill the beans, or whether he's extracted. There's something going on with the Saturn-Chiron conjunction in a big way. Pluto right on top of his Mercury, and then ultimately the movement of Pluto and Saturn squaring off against Neptune and Saturn in his chart. I don't know. I don't know if he makes it through this time. I don't know. And I would say really the cutoff is that Pluto conjunction with the Sun at 0 Aquarius, which is 2024. And Saturn's going to hit his Sun in 2021. Saturn-Sun's conjunction. Could it be the end of Jeffrey Epstein's story? That's the way Saturn works, right? When Saturn conjuncts his Sun in 2020, actually, Saturn will conjunct his Sun during the summer of 2020, because Saturn goes through Capricorn. I think it ends in Capricorn with about May or June, and then actually goes into Aquarius and it retrogrades again. So in the summer of 2020, Epstein's going to have the Saturn on his Sun. And whenever Saturn crosses a planet, it's the end of a cycle for that planet, and there's a reset. So what's going to be very interesting, again, is when Saturn hits his Mercury, Saturn compresses. That's what Saturn does. It compresses. And when it hits his Mercury, what's been locked up in his Mercury for the last 30 years, right? Pluto here, Saturn here. Look at this. That's going to be where the big conjunction of Saturn and Pluto is going to take place in 2020, right on Jeffrey Epstein's Mercury. Wow. Wow. That's interesting. To me, that's interesting. Look, I'm cynical. I still think this is going to be a Keith Raniere situation. Keith Raniere basically took the fall for the Bronfman girls. He's in. He's been put away. Allison Mack, the Bronfman girls, Cornelia Guest's daughter, all those people, right? Kirsten Gillibrand's dad, nobody's doing jail time except for Keith Raniere. So part of me thinks that this is going to be Keith Raniere 2.0. Same deal. Jeffrey Epstein's going to basically take, fall on the sword and eat the sins for the others. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because Keith Raniere didn't have Pluto on his Mercury. I can tell you that right now. Keith Raniere is Virgo. He certainly didn't have Saturn on his Mercury. So it's going to be very interesting situation to watch. That's for damn sure. And I don't think it's going away anytime soon. We're just getting started with Senor Epstein. All right, let me check in with you guys and see where you're at as we move through the mundane matrix of life here. Enjoyed reality check. Okay, what else we have? Got 136 people. That might be a record. How about that? Okay. Amazing Polly connects everything together in her vids. Yeah, she's great. Bill claims he knew nothing. The royals are clear they will protect Golden Boy Prince Andrew. That's correct. It's not the A list who's suspect. It's the B list and the C list. Those are the people that I think could crack. Those are the people I think could crack. It's not the A listers. It's the B and C listers. Neptune is on Epstein's Venus right now. Okay, that's where it's at. Gwen Stefani, there's a picture of her at Getty Museum spear cooking, or Marina Abramovich hosting a dinner party. Yuck. Hey, Robert, Beth Chapman died, not dog. Is that right, Beth Chapman? You sure? Oh, it's not the dog? Oh, my bad. Sorry. His wife? Well, I thought it was the dog. Let me just see here. I got to make sure. I think I had him up here. Hold on. Dog the bounty hunter. I thought he died. If that's the case, and my bad, I apologize. Let me just make sure. Let me see what we got. If that's the case, it's my bad. It's Beth Chapman. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. Again, right, she's the wife of the dog. Same deal. What sign was Beth Chapman? Let's find out. Let me see if we can find out. Let's see. because the dog is he's an Aquarius. Thank you. I appreciate the correction. Let me see what we got here. Beth Chapman. Let's see. Beth Chapman is a Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio. So she had throat cancer in 2017. Okay, my bad. I apologize for that. I guess they're doing a new show, Dogs Most Wanted, so I guess they're back. Anyway, I bet you hit that guy because I bet that woman was everything for him. So I apologize. Beth Chapman, thank you. Appreciate that. His wife, thank you. Dog lives. Yes, I got it. Dog lives, thank you. Scorpio, yep. I just survived Saturn Pluto writing over Sun. So, you know, finding writing over, I wish something's I died. Oh, got it. Yes, you're in here. You're in here. Stay along for the ride. Let's see. What else? What else? We got the worlds are clearly protected worldwide. Yes. Yes. Okay. There's going to be a massive stellium in Virgo at the end of August this year. Sun, Venus, Mercury, Mars, all in the 6th house cusp. That's if this is his chart in terms of time. I basically rectified it, right? I rectified it. He will have that stellium on his black moon Lilith in the sign of Virgo. And that's the shadow of women, right? And Virgo, the opposite sign, it's purity. It's purity. It's purity and innocence and youth. So that stellium is going to be there. So good call on that. Good call on that. Neptune retro over Venus, Mars. Yeah. All right. So how about that eclipse? How about it? Let's get into the eclipse, shall we? Let's get into this next eclipse. This is one of 3 charts I'm going to be looking at tonight. So let me grab the old eclipse chart there. Yes, so just to be clear, it is Beth Chapman who passed away, not Dog, the bounty hunter. Thank you for that. That just crossed my screen, I think, today. All right, here we go. All right. Eclipse, there it is. July 16th. And we've got the moon at 24:04, sun at 24:04, Cancer, Capricorn. Okay, so one of the things about this eclipse cycle to me, which really sets it apart from the other eclipse cycles that we've been going through. Like last year, we had some pretty powerful eclipses, and we were working with the ascending node, with the ascending plane of the moon, the true node in Leo, and then the south node in Aquarius. They're still pretty powerful. But these eclipses this year are very, very different because we're dealing with the ascending plane of the moon, and it's in the sign of the moon, right? It's in its own sign. And the descending plane is in its opposite sign. So the eclipses this year, I feel, are more intense than in other years or in other signs, unless, of course, they were reversed, and then the true node or the ascending plane of the moon was in Capricorn, and then the south node was in Cancer. So when we get into a lunar eclipse, even though the moon is in Capricorn, right, we're still dealing with the dance of the nodes. And the last eclipse we had was when the new moon was right here, and then the true node, the ascending plane was right there, the sun was right there. So these are very powerful eclipses, very, very, very powerful. And for me, these 2 eclipses that we're kind of standing in right now are almost like they represent, in some ways, like pillars. You know, these 2 eclipse moments are like pillars, and the time between these 2 eclipses really feels very, I don't like to use the word all that often, but feels very portal-like in a lot of ways because of the time between the eclipses, 2 weeks, which is generally about the time that it happens between a solar eclipse and an eclipse, roughly, because we're dealing with, a lunar cycle, right? So it's going to be roughly 2 weeks. And so we have these bookends, but the bookends are really loaded, right? I mean, not only are we having a lunar eclipse and we're dealing with the true node and the south node, and the true node being the sign of the moon in its own sign, but we're also bringing Pluto into the mix. Hello? And we're bringing Saturn into the mix. So we're talking about a really supercharged eclipse. I mean, it kind of happened, again, right around the second, because look at what happened after the second. I mean, holy shit. Earthquakes, big earthquakes, Epstein. So now we've got this next phase coming. And it's going to be very interesting. And again, I think it has to do with the fact that Saturn and Pluto are in here. Of course, Venus is going to play a bit of a role as well with the opposition to Saturn. And sometimes Venus can be a part of an eclipse cycle because it's around the sun, right? So that's not too disturbing in some ways. Well, Mercury's in it too. Mercury had been retrograde and finally went forward. No, I'm sorry, that was direct, and now it's moving retrograde and it's moving back towards the sun. So there we go. Very interesting. So Mercury is even in the mix, right? It's going to have a wide opposition. Here's what I think. I think that we're going to see something, or we're going to experience something, or something's going to come out, and we're not going to believe it. We are not going to believe it. Something's going to be, it's going to be slightly unbelievable. We're like, what just happened? I mean, it feels like these events have been kind of leading up to this. But to me, this Mercury opposition to the moon and this eclipse cycle is disbelief. It is disbelief. And something quick happened. It's quick. It's very fast. Because we have a square from Mars to Uranus and Mercury to Uranus. Something happens quickly. And it's like, well, what? What went on? And the one thing that and of course we get this with eclipses, because of the nature of the lunar eclipse, it's going to be opposite the sun, right? So we're going to have opposition. But the thing that really gets to me on this eclipse is the amount of opposition that we're dealing with and how things are really strained and just pulling apart from the center. And there's an energy of tension here, a lot of tension. Now, there are some outs with this eclipse, which I do like. We have the Neptune trine to Venus, which is pretty cool, right? We have a Neptune trine to the sun. We've got a Jupiter-Mars trine, which I actually like, a lot of vitality here. And then we've got sextiles to Neptune. Of course, the Saturn-Pluto sextile, which we've chronicled and talked about, and then a moon sextile to Neptune. So to me, I think that what this eclipse represents is an event or a series of events that strain, they enter into the realm of incredulity, right? It's straining and pulling. But if you're willing to kind of work with the material, there's interesting movement here. There's really interesting movement. If you can remove yourself from the spell of opposition and duality during this time, you can move through a lot of material. A lot of material. Because I feel like this is kind of the code for this eclipse, which is duality, which is opposition. And yet, the key here is to be able to move through it. So as we approach this eclipse, and we're kind of getting there now, right? We're kind of getting there now. Do your best not to be triggered. Try to stay out of choosing sides. If you can stay out of choosing sides here, then you're going to have an opportunity to get through this quickly, unscathed, and with even a sense of renewed enthusiasm, if you can believe it. But I think by and large, this could be a very powerful, intense, and potentially even trying eclipse for some people. And it's what's revealed, it's what's shown that I think could be tricky here. Very, very tricky. Now, I think for a lot of us, since we've been rolling around in this muck for a while now, sadly, we're probably kind of used to it in some ways. But even then, it just feels. I mean, and again, I'm feeling like this is border related stuff, because that is just like boiling over now. I watched this guy Holman from what is it? Was he Homeland Security or the Border Patrol? And I watched Ocasio-Cortez and that other guy try to embarrass him and shame him, and he was having none of it. You see that guy? You see that guy? My God. What a face. Let me see if I can throw his face up here. That dude has got a freaking face. Hold on. Let me find his face. That dude has got a mug, man. See if I can find him. Hold on. Ocasio-Cortez. I gotta find this guy. Let me see if I can find his image. Tom Holman is his name. Tom Holman. Let me see. Let me do this. Come on, give me the image. Oh, here he is. Let me get his face up here real quick. I guess he's with ICE, right? That's his thing. Let me show you this guy's face. Here we go. Look at this dude's mug. You don't think this guy has seen some shit? You don't think this guy's had a few benders down on the border, have a few cocktails? Look at some of these photos. This guy is tough as freaking leather, okay? Tough as leather. That's not him. It's another guy. Do you want to mess with that guy? I sure as hell wouldn't. Jesus. All right. Look at this dude. So Ocasio-Cortez decided to tangle with him. It's border stuff. He put her ass in place. And then another dude was basically saying that he didn't care. Have you ever had a 5-year-old child die in your arms? Of course he fucking has. He was a cop. This guy's seen shit that guy who gets to go to Washington, D.C. every day, do his insider trading. This guy has seen shit that guy will never, ever, ever win. Unless, of course, that guy flew to Jeffrey Epstein's parties down on his island, right? That's where I think it's happening. I think we're going to see we're going to see more border stuff. That's what's going on. It's all that Cancerian, the children, the mothers, the children, the mothers, separation, homeland, Capricorn, the evildoers, the villains of ice. Ooh, they're icy, they're cold, they have no feelings. They're going to go into people's homes and take them. Something's going to go down, man. That's what I think. I got an instant message. What do we got? What's this? I have no idea. There's something. Shari, I'll get back to you. He's in deep dew. Okay, I got to go back to you, Shari. You just sent me something on email, on Messenger. Anyway, just getting back to the clips. I'm sorry, because I was thinking maybe it was something with the show. But here we go, right there. Separation, polarity, duality. There's outs, right? Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. There's actually some vitality, but I think we're going to see something shocking. I think it's going to be one of those scratch your head moments. And we're in the eclipse shoot now, right? CHUTE, the eclipse shoot. There we go. Let's check in with you guys for a second. Let's see what's happening. What's going on with your world? Chatlandia, which I think is the best chat room on the internet. I am biased, of course. There are another number of those who think their chats are the best as well. He gave AOC no quarter for masquerading loan. No, man, he took care of her. And of course, she's like, I just want this to be a part of the record, right? She couldn't even hang in there. She had about 4 kind of, moves, right? It's like, they're off playing kung fu. They're in the octagon. And Ocasio-Cortez had about 4 moves. And when he countered her moves, she had nothing left. Nothing. Hey, Carol, nice to see you. AOC is a moron. Her Libra sun feeds off. She's got the full moon, right? She's a full moon chick. AOC, Taco Cortez, my husband, Taco Cortez. False flag, maybe. Good call. Good call, Tanya. Maybe. Could be. So we're going to look at it and we're going to scratch our heads and go, what the hell is going on here? Michael says, looks grizzled. Hey, what's going on, Raw? Happy birthday. It's going to say happy birthday to you. What's happening, Raw? I hope you have a great year, my friend. Whiskey fears him. Yeah, he does, man. It's that guy, Tom Holman. It looks like there wasn't a bar that Tom Holman didn't like, right? That guy's got a garden of gin blossoms, not just on his nose. Garden of gin blossoms. Okay, what else do we have here? Could be some Antifa shenanigans, maybe. Something's going to be weird on this on this eclipse. On or around them, we're going to see some, and some people they're not going to believe what they see. That's my sense. We're going to look back. What just happened? What did we just see? This is really weird, and maybe it's one of these moments that kind of changes the game a little bit. And while everybody else is sitting around trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, you guys who have been seasoned veterans are probably going, "Oh yeah, well, of course, we saw this coming, right? We saw this coming." I agree. Duality is the key. I think Virgo, Sagittarius, and Geminis being mutable signs will get through this a little easier. Nice. Aliens, that would be interesting at the very least. That'd be very interesting. What do you think, Jasper? Yes, Jasper. Hey, Jasper, what do you think is going to happen during the eclipse? You have any clues? Any ideas? He just shook his left ear 4 times. 4 times left ear. You gonna shake it again, or just 4 times? No, it's 4 times. Can anybody interpret left ear cat shakes 4 times? Do we have any animal whisperers out there? Any animal psychics? False flag Friday. Yeah, it could be. It's going to be the 16th is when? Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's Tuesday. AOC propels herself through ego. She's got to burn out. Yeah, I think she's a limited hang, man. Oh, Isla says 4, letter D. Square wave, aliens for sure. I love it. Yeah, aliens for sure. That's good. 22 to the left here. Epstein. Wondering why Amash is getting thrown under the bus. And if there's more to the story, I actually like Amash, and he's from Michigan and not Missouri. No, it's not. No, it wasn't Amash. It was the other guy. It's not Amash. It's the other guy, Josh. What's his name? Who's from Missouri? I think he's from Missouri. The young guy who's very earnest. It's the left ear. 4 ears, no Florida one. I love that, Jennifer. Did I see the power orange in New York City? I did. I read about that. Isn't it July when they had the last blackout in New York, the big one? The memes about storing area. Oh, this is a good one. Michael brings up the memes about storming Area 51 are extremely viral right now. Do you know how viral those memes are? My kid told me about it. My kid told me about the Area 51 flash mob. He told me about it on Saturday. I'm like, what? Really? I said, that's crazy. That's really crazy. Oh, somebody's calling me. And the Army said that they're going to be there, right? They moved all that stuff out of Area 51. They moved it out a long time ago. Apparently, they moved a lot of their material to Indianapolis, to Wright-Patterson, right? Isn't that right? Isn't that base? Apparently, that's really where it's happening now. And I think Area 51 has been pretty much decommissioned. That's what I've heard. That's what it's all under. Yeah, it is all underground. Ross hated the power out too. Last night, 97, there was a blackout in New York City. Was that the anniversary? Tanya, was it the anniversary? Dayton, Ohio. Thank you. Isla. You guys are great. Dayton, Ohio. That's where, Dayton, Ohio, Wright-Patterson, right? That's where they moved. That's what I've heard. They moved the Area 51 stuff. Thank you, Isla. Nice move. Meet the alien brothel and warn anyone in charge. Oh, that's funny. For colliding with the young memes, not to be ignored. I know, my son was all over it, man. Wright-Patterson. Yeah, thanks, Isla. I got that. Isla's on tonight, man. She's helped me out with Wright-Patterson and Dayton. Yeah, I was thinking Rubber, Indianapolis, Goodyear, but it was Dayton, which is the other kind of rubber place, right? Rubber City Rebels, Dayton, Ohio. Power outage on New York happened on schedule based on field X-ray moving through time cycle. 42-year anniversary to the day. Oh, that's interesting. You know what's really, so I was talking with Randy and Emily. God, it must have been about a year ago. And I was talking about the power outage in New York. And I felt like about a year ago that it was coming around again. I was just a year off. That's okay. I will pay $1 million for an alien. Let's see who can back up the BS. There you go. Flatfish, you got $1 million. And somebody's out there that's got some alien stuff laying around, PM them. Private message them. These people will not make it past the second gate at Area 51. I have seen, I will say this. I have seen UFOs. I have seen UFOs. Now, that doesn't mean I've seen aliens, but I've seen shit that I can't classify, okay? I've seen UFOs 3 times, and I can't classify what I saw. Cannot. Now, I don't know who was piloting them or what they were about. They were clearly not anything that I've ever seen fly in the sky before. What else? I don't need $1 million. Aliens don't exist. I made a shepherd's pie and I haven't drank in 6 days. Neptune Mercury squared that. Resident alien. I had a resident alien that does that qualify. That's funny. Resident alien. That's good. That's good. I like that. Okay. Let's bring this back to astrology. Let me bring in one more chart tonight. I saw a UFO. Jimmy Carter was in the pilot seat with a rabbit. That is a pretty, that'd make a really wild t-shirt, actually. Or an episode of Rick and Morty. I got one more chart tonight. So I can find it here. Okay. So July 15th is the birthday tomorrow of Ian Curtis, who was the lead singer of a band called Joy Division. And was an amazingly powerful and haunting voice. And I know some of you guys are familiar with Joy Division. And anyway, I just wanted to look at his chart and see what was going on. I've never really, and again, there's no time for his chart. And so I rectified it. And one of the things that I did for his chart was I wanted to get like a physical glimpse of Ian Curtis. And this is what I came up with. The picture that let me find the other one. There's a picture of Ian Curtis that I was able to kind of draw some information from, and maybe it's the right draw. Let me see. Let me find him here. I don't know if you guys ever listened to Joy Division or not, but man, what a voice, what a powerful, haunting voice Ian Curtis was in possession of. So here's his picture, and I looked at that, and to me, all right, let me ask you guys, okay? Let me ask you guys, based on that picture and those eyes, what rising sign would you ascribe to Ian Curtis? What rising sign would you say that, from a facial perspective, that this would translate to you? Let's see where your heads are at with it. Look at that image. What do you get from that image? What do you get from the Cancer? Jennifer says Cancer. 0 Dragon 14 Aries. Okay, what else we got? Isla Ren Scorpio. Brother Zygos Pisces. Square wave. Let's see. Pisces, Annie Brito. Pisces. What else? What else we got? Scorpio, Pisces. Okay, Aquarius, just guessing. Tanya, Pisces. Pisces are Gemini. You guys are so freaking on it. You are so on it. That's what I put. Pisces. Look at those eyes. Those eyes are like pools of water. Absolute pools of water. So in terms of rectification, right? In terms of rectification, I went with Pisces. So I put Pisces on the ascendant, okay? Right there, Pisces on the ascendant. And for you guys that, pain, I like that. For you guys that were talking about Aries and Scorpio, right? He had Mars in Pisces. Mars was the original ruler of Scorpio. So so right around 17, he's got Mars on the ascendant, right? Right there. So I put him as a Pisces rising. And if you listen to his voice, you know, if you listen to his voice, you know, that's let me see if I can give you Curtis. Radio, flat transmission, radio, flat transmission, dance, dance, dance to the radio. You know, it sounds really Taurus-like, right? Second house, Taurus. That's what I picked up on. Very creative, super creative. Fifth house, right? Fifth house, Sun, Uranus, Mercury, Uranus and Leo. And I put Venus, right, with in the third house because it was local and with his mates right here. But I looked at his chart and I looked at that moon in Scorpio, you know, the moon in Scorpio and Neptune and all these squares to his sun and Uranus. And I'm like, my God, look at that. That's so intense. Like this guy was an open fucking wound. Look at that. Look at that. Open wound. And then he's got Saturn squaring, right? Saturn, Pluto square. And here's a case where Jupiter conjuncts Pluto, right there. Jupiter conjuncts Pluto. So it's going to expand Pluto. It's going to make it bigger. It's going to expand the power of Pluto, right? So all that Plutonian intensity and squaring off. You know, I think at the end of the day, it coincides with the tour. They were going to go to America. Joy Division was going to go to America, and he killed himself right before the tour. But I think this was a guy that was dealing with like really super intense pain. It hit like Ian Curtis was an empath, grand water trine, channeling that intensity, that emotion through that Mars, if indeed this is the case, and I'm thinking this is the case, right? Mars on the ascendant in Pisces. But the story to tell here is this. You know, the Neptune square, the moon square, it's the square from Saturn with the Pluto-Jupiter conjunction. Wow. Incandescent. He burned incredibly brightly. Very little Earth in his chart. Hardly anything attaching to the planet. What he did have was Jupiter in mutable Virgo. That's it. That's it. It's the only thing that attached him to the planet. But I think you can make a significant case for the pain with this guy. with that Scorpio moon and a Neptune conjunction. He's married. And then the squares here. Powerful stuff. Very, very powerful stuff. You guys did great. You did absolutely great. Jupiter, Pluto, the big brooding. Absolutely. Holy cow, his eyes like Kurt Cobain. Another Cobain's a Pisces, right? 0 degrees. You see Scorpio. Well, there's a darkness there for sure. Scorpios, by the way, their eyes tend to be more slitty. They're a bit more slitty. On the ascendant, they're more penetrating. He had a baby daughter. She's all grown up and is a photographer. There you go. Thank you. I thought he had a daughter. I definitely thought he had a daughter. His sun sign, Cancer. Cancer sun. He's all feeling. I mean, this guy's a feeler, right? He's an empath. He's intuitive. He's got a grand water trine. Mars, Saturn, Sun, Mercury. You know, when you listen to Ian Curtis sing, it's like the dude is opening his freaking veins. That's what it feels like. But then there's a price for that. I think he was also epileptic, wasn't he? I think he was epileptic as well. Man, this is a very intense chart, and what a brilliant talent. Brilliant talent right there. Yep, Scorp rising eyes are more piercing. Yeah, he has the watery blue. He has those watery. Let's look at his eyes again. One more time. Let me just throw that back up there. Look at these eyes. To me, these are the sort of the watercolor eyes of a Pisces, right? Or Pisces rising. I would say Pisces rising. And he also, the other thing about Pisces rising people is they can look really, really disheveled. Really disheveled. Here's another picture of Ian Curtis. Ian Curtis. The Joy Division. Hold on. Here's another picture of Ian Curtis. Right there. A little darker, brooding, kind of a gothic feel to him. Right, but again, you know, this maybe looks a little more Scorpio, but most of the eyes that I saw of him, face shots, were definitely on the sort of the watery, Piscean, you know, colory palette of the eyes tip. So Ian Curtis passed away at 23 years of age, a member of the 27s. Left a great yet small body of music with Joy Division. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of tonight's show. I really appreciate it. I feel like that's where his pelvic seizures would show up in his chart. Where's Uranus? You should see something there. He has Uranus in the 5th house. Very sad, watery looking, absolutely. You know, there's something like incredibly pure about somebody who dies young. Really, you know, I mean, it's like in some ways they don't become unsullied by time, misfortune, bad business decisions or divorces. You know, they're able to sort of tread lightly upon the planet, leave their mark, and then move on. There's something of a purity to it. Ian Curtis hanged himself. You know, he didn't die of natural causes. He took himself out. And for whatever reason, he just got too intense for him, perhaps. But yeah, he did have seizures for sure. And I think you can see that in the Sun-Uranus conjunction partially. Okay, love the disheveled Pisces aspect. Yeah, definitely. Okay, Rosie wants to get in. What do you want to say, Rosie? You want to come up and say hi to people? Come on. Come on, let's go. Come on. You want to come up? Come on. Well, come on. Rosie wants to say hi. Come on, right here. There we go. Little Rosie sighting tonight. She wanted to get in on it. She's not as you know, prominent as Jasper, but she is a pretty girl, isn't she? Yeah, she is. She's such a pretty girl. She likes to come up every now and then. Yeah. So say goodnight to everybody, Rosie. Can you tell them goodnight? Can you say goodnight to all the people in Chatlandia, YouTube world? Okay. All right, everybody. I love you. Come on over to robphoenix.com. Don't forget my event in October, Harvest Moon Hill Country. It's going to be great. Astrology, didgeridoo, storytelling, the magical trek around Enchanted Rock, Texas barbecue, Tex-Mex food. It's going to be fantastic. Fantastic. You can find that over at my website, robertphoenix.com. I'll have more details tomorrow. I'll leave a link in the dialogue box here at the end of the show. And thank you all for showing up and being a part of it. Hang on to your hats. This eclipse is going to be a doozy. And thank you all in the chat room, especially Shasta Fogg and Tanya for being my fact checker in real time. I really appreciate that. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to discern what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix, and you are you. Let's be the best you can. I'll see you guys Tuesday. I'm not going to do 15 minutes of flame tomorrow. I'm going to start taking Mondays off, unless there's a national emergency or something, in which case I will be. But I'll see you Tuesday on 15 minutes of flame. Take good care. Bye for now.